Welcome to the Live Your Adventure podcast, a place for stories, ideas, and conversations that challenge you to live with intention and create an adventure that's truly your own. Let's go. Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Live Your Adventure podcast. We're here today for episode 9. The topic for today, the theme, as we call it, is the adventure looks different for everyone, and we'll fit that in within the discussion that I'm going to have with the guest today. Is Greg Johnson for Johnson Sporting Goods. Welcome.
Hello.
Good to be here, Greg. So one of the things that we love to talk about is why adventure is important, and the first thing for today is really around adventure does look different for everyone, and I get caught up in a few places here that people oftentimes compare their adventure to somebody else's, and that you don't need to do that, and you need to trust the adventure that you're creating for yourself. And then on the way down here this morning, I started thinking about the other thing that rubs me wrong is that folks tend to, if your adventure is not like mine, I get critical about it. And I see this in fishing and hunting and people that are hiking mountains or skiing or whatever. And it almost like it becomes a competition. And that's definitely not what it's about. I'll focus on weaving some of that into our discussion today. But I guess we'll start off, Greg. Tell me a little bit about Greg Johnson and Johnson Sporting Goods.
Geez, where do we start on that one? Geez, it started after school. I went to, decided I wanted to go to college. That didn't work out so good, so I came back and started working with my father.
Yeah.
And then he said, oh, geez, maybe we ought to start another store down in Booth Bay Harbor. And didn't really know much about starting a store, so we went down to Booth Bay and kind of figured out things, as we went along and had a good time. And then we opened another store and then opened another one down in Portland. And then after that, it was just on and on and on, and just enjoyed everything. We started getting into scuba diving. We did a lot of fishing. Did a lot of hunting, but then I had some problems with some scuba instructors. They never wanted to show up. And so then I said, geez, maybe I'll get certified myself and teach. And then, I really enjoyed it. And so then, after years of doing it and everything is just, gets better and better, with diving, and then you go look for some wrecks and then you find one, and then you want to find another one, and leads you into different things, and yeah.
Cool. You've already gone down a lot of paths that we're going to dig deeper into, but so you mentioned your father, and it sounds like this business has been around for a long time.
It has. Since 66.
66. Yep. Before I was born. That's awesome. So family business then.
Mm-hmm. Yep, my sisters are in it. I'm in it. My father is just phasing out and stuff, and so yeah. So
okay, and still 2 or 3 stores today.
Yep, still got 3 of them.
Excellent.
Yeah, got rid of the Booth Bay one, because it was too seasonable. Yeah. And so, but we did really well down there, So.
Excellent. So. A lot of people think about adventure as they're going to go climb a mountain, they're going to go tour a country, they're going to go on these big skiing trips, and when people talk about people that live a life of adventure, they don't think about going to work every day. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons I really wanted to sit down with you is you've done a lot from an adventure perspective. But an adventure is coming here every day.
Oh, yeah.
And you go through a lot. I've run my own business for many years, so I can talk to it as well. But what's it like, being involved every day running a business?
So somebody came in just recently too, and they came in and they said, "Oh man, I would love to own a sporting goods store." And I said, "Well, do you like to hunt and fish and do the outdoor stuff?" And then he said, "Oh, I love it." And I said, "Well, I want to kiss that goodbye because it's like you're running, to get to a deer stand, you're running to get to a boat to go tuna fishing, you're running to go, do a dive and if you're in earshot, you're going to get a call. And before cell phones, it was okay, but now with cell phones, it's they can catch up with you anywhere you are. So, I'm not trying to discourage anybody, for doing that.
Right.
But the problem is that you don't have the time, because when you're the busiest is when the best hunting and the best fishing, the best scuba diving and stuff, and so time is at a it's a valuable.
Oh yeah. And there's a component of you become you have a family here.
Yeah.
And you've got, this is almost like home, but you have a family. You've got employees that you see on a regular basis.
Right.
You become friends with them, and you feel a responsibility.
Oh yeah.
For those folks.
But like I feel like we're kind of like a hub, and I think some of that is being lost, with all this online stuff. And when you got a hub, where you can, it's like, hey, what are the new laws on fishing or hunting or whatever's going on? At least you have a place where you can, protect it, or voice your opinion.
Yeah. So I was talking I've talked to a couple different guides recently, and one of the cool things is they're in the moment living adventures with their clients.
Right.
But I know I've been here standing in the counter listening to people, and you're reliving folks' adventures on a daily basis,
every day,
many times a day.
Oh yeah,
with people coming in. So it's got to be really interesting, the number of people.
It does. Like when we were looking for wrecks and stuff, it was like you should have. It wasn't divers that were giving you a lot of information. It was a lot of the fishermen, the islands, and stuff that would say, "Hey, I remember when," and it's like, and I know that this is down there, so we go check it out and stuff. And the same with tuna fishing or fishing in general. You can find out a lot of information and stuff, and not so much share it with the world, but you can kind of give guidance, for what's working, what's not.
So you have your good years, you have your bad years. Anybody that's been in business knows that. The good years are somewhat easy to get through.
Yeah.
But how do you face those tough years? What do you?
Oh, we've had a few of them. Especially the recession types. Where, geez, people just money was tight and. But they'll always go fishing, but they won't be buying the big ticket items. They'll be buying, a lot of small stuff, and so you got to adapt, and and sometimes you got to lay some people off, to survive, and stuff, which is hard, because you've protected these people so long, and they've worked so hard for you, but you have to survive yourself, to get through it.
Right, right, and so. You started to mention diving, and I think you still do diving classes?
Oh, all the time.
Every
month. Yeah.
Okay. So talk to us a little bit about, I don't know anything about diving. I got some friends that dive, whatever. What's it like when you jump underwater?
Well, I just went scallop diving last week, and, it's funny, it's like, they're just just a big shelled thing underwater, and then when you find them, it's just, you just hyperventilate, you're like shoving them in a bag and stuff, but they're so good to eat. And, but one of the guys on the boat says, I don't like to dive deep. And, which means over 20 feet, we were diving 50 to 60 feet, which really isn't super deep. But it's, I don't know. It just when you get to the bottom and you start gathering them up, and it's food, and and you're just having a good time, and good people on the surface, and like when you're finding a wreck, it's just the camaraderie, because usually you'll have 4 or 5 people with you, looking for the same thing, and it's an adventure, and it's And, danger-wise, there's risk, there's risk in everything, but it's like you get trained and you know what to do if something does happen, so then when you come to this, when you get down there and if something happens, you can always make it back to the surface, no problem.
Yeah, risk is, to me, risk is healthy.
Right, exactly.
And getting outside your comfort zone.
Right.
If I were to take up diving, it would definitely be getting outside of my comfort zone for me, not my world. And as you were talking, I just started thinking about diving, and there's so many different aspects. You just mentioned, there's people that go out scallop diving. Oh, yeah. There's people that have a career setting moorings and working on boats underwater.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And then there's the whole recreation side of you're like, hey, I'm looking for wrecks or going to swim with fish. What kind of... So there's lots of different aspects that way, but so what's it take for somebody to learn to dive?
Well, it's if you feel like you can do it, you can do it. It's like age-wise, there was just a guy and we were talking about how old is, too old to go diving. It's like, well, if you feel good and, you've been, diving for years, and stuff, and it's like, go for it, but the only thing that really draws back, for diving is like if you have a lot of asthma, heavy asthma or heart conditions and stuff like that, that'll hold you back, or, some disabilities, but other than that, no, it's like we start people off at 12 years old and we've trained, people in the mid 70s and stuff. And so it works out pretty good.
How long does it take somebody?
It takes about 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Yeah,
okay.
and it's not like every night. It's like a couple of nights in the class. It's a full day in the pool, and then 2 half days of open water dives.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And what does somebody typically invest to get started?
About $1,200.
Okay.
That's with the class, the books, and all this little stuff you need to provide and stuff.
Yeah. So, and there is that equipment as well?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yep.
wow.
Yep. So.
Yep. And do people typically own their own tanks, or do they?
They should.
Tanks?
It's just like, like I was snowboarding and I was renting a board, and I was always trying to talk myself out of going because I got to go stand in line and rent a board. But then I bought a board, and then it was like, oh, I just went up, like to Shawnee Peak for a half a day, and stuff, and then took off, and then, but if I rented it, I wouldn't have gone,
Right.
But same with dive gears. If you're taking your own gear, you're going to go more and you're going to go explore more.
Cool.
And then there's so many different avenues where you can, online stuff, there's like groups that go all the time and, do different things and,
What's one of your most memorable dives?
Oh, we were looking for the Albany, which was a British warship, and it had cannonballs. And I found it, and it was we were going to quit. It was 17 different days, and we looked everywhere, all through Penobscot Bay. The southern triangles, the northern triangles. We went up Matinicus, Matinic. We went everywhere, thinking that it was right there, but it was on, right in front of our eyes. And then when we found it, I found 2 cannonballs in the sand, and it was at the very end of the day, and I was going to give up and move on to look for something else, and I had this little pry bar, and I hit, this thing, and it fell off, and I said, oh my gosh, that's what we're looking for. It was a cannonball. And so then at that point, my father was in the boat, and so we came back out the next week. There was 5 of us. And there was this little gold thing sticking out of, we knew that we were on the wreck, but there was this little gold, fitting that was sticking out of it. And geez, I saw it at the same time as he did. And he kind of pushed me out of the way to get to it. And I was thinking it was a piece of a gold bar stuff, and he thought the same thing. And he had the chipper, and that's why he kind of pushed me out. I was like, for Pete's sakes, why would you do that? But it was, when we got back on the boat, he says, I had the chipper. He says, I didn't want to lose track of where it was. And it was like, that was probably one of the best. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
And it's and so the biggest. I may be wrong here, but it seems like the biggest market that you serve here is the fishing community.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Whatever. And so, talk to us a little bit about, or tell me a little bit about the different types of fishing people come in to get outfitted for.
So we do tuna fishing, striper fishing, trout fishing, and it's I don't know. It's all good. It's just some are bigger than the other ones, but it's like ice fishing and open water fishing, and it's like, so somebody said, "Oh, do you get just as much thrill out of catching a trout as you do a tuna fish?" It's like, oh, yeah, absolutely. Everybody I know that catches either one, loves it both.
Yeah, so you got the folks that come in that, I mean, they know what they want. They've done it before.
Oh,
But right after that, the person comes in that's like, I heard the stripers are in. What do I do?
Oh, yeah. That, you know what, and everybody thinks that we get sick of that, but we don't. It's like, the only time we get sick of it is somebody will ask us a question and then they'll just walk off, they'll be like, what about this and what about this? And it's like, well, go ahead and try it, but these are what works, and so that, but if you let us guide you, we're not trying to just sell you something, we're trying to, make you catch fish so tomorrow you come back, and say, hey, fantastic, because, we like that.
Cool. I know one of the things that somebody else said in one of their episodes is you always want to leave somebody, if they come into the store, that you want them to leave probably a little more knowledgeable than they when they walked in.
Definitely. Yep.
And that's a great opportunity. And then is hunting number 2, or is diving number 2, or what's in the business as a whole?
They all have their times.
Yep.
It's all seasonable.
Okay.
Everything is seasonable, and it's so you get you got your fall with your hunting. It's like your fishing. It's like it goes right from ice fishing to open water fishing, and then that dies out, and then your hunting picks up, and the scuba diving, goes through the summer. They all kind of collide, in about August and September.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So I had a chance to go out with you. Oh gosh, it's too many years ago now,
Mm-hmm.
And we need to go out again.
Yeah.
But you've kind of you've got a boat, and you've put quite a bit of time into tuna fishing.
Right.
What's the allure? What's the
that's a good one. It's an addiction. It really is. When you because you watch it from outside and you're like, oh, I can do that, and then all of a sudden it's like when you start to do it, there's a lot more to it, than you think, and you're, weather-wise, your boat makes a difference. All the equipment is a lot more money than a lot of your striper fishing stuff. And then what happens is that you get into it, then you catch one. And at that point, you're addicted. You just want to catch another one because that thing is just absolutely a powerhouse. And when you get into it, when you first get into it, people don't share a lot of information with you at first. They're very, reserved, and because where you anchor up, what you're using for bait, tides, everything makes it's a big part of it. And so, but then when they see you out there and it's like, and you catch one, it's like almost like you're in a club, and they'll start to talk to you more and help you out more and kind of share some information and things. But yeah, that first fish, when you first catch one, it is absolutely an adrenaline rush, and you have no idea what it's going to do. And because hooking up is one part of it, but getting that thing in the boat or the tail up on the side, that is absolutely a hard task. And some of these guys just make it look so easy, and that's what you try to strive for. But it's an adrenaline rush.
Interesting. Yeah. So, what's the success rate? Probably when you first started going out, it was lower.
Oh gosh, yeah.
But as you, or what can somebody expect if they get invited to go out with somebody?
Well, a lot of boredom. There's a lot of boredom. You're washing the windows and you're scrubbing this and scrubbing that, and then you sit down and you'll want to jig something, and then jig something off the bottom. And so, some guys catch them every day,
Wow.
and it's like, I wish I was that guy, but sometimes you'll go a whole season, without catching. Some people have never caught one, they go out all the time. And so then you just kind of pay attention to, what you're doing and, tweaking this, and you have more questions, and, you'll ask somebody, and, hopefully they'll share some information. But success rate, I I think you got to look at it like it's a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
it's a nice day to be out there, and and then the bonus is the fish biting, and so.
Yeah. So I want to circle back to you were mentioning that they start once you get into the community, once you're out there, there's some sharing that goes on, and go back to what we're talking about, like the people that end up here in the store some days. It seems like oftentimes I know I've seen it in hunting season where there'd be 3, 4, 5 people standing around and they're starting sharing amongst each other.
Oh yeah,
And that's really the community piece, which is cool to see.
Right.
And that goes back to what I was starting at the beginning of the way I hunt may be different than the way you hunt. There's nothing wrong with that. The
No.
way I fish I may not do your type of fishing, and I love hearing about it. And I may do more of bass fishing or whatever it may be, and there's nothing wrong with that, and that's the way it should be. Another type of adventure that I know you've done some is snowmobiling. Mm-hmm. A lot of snowmobile trips and stuff.
Yep.
Not so sure if it's nowadays or if it was in the past, but what's the history from a snowmobiling perspective?
Oh gosh, back in the early 2000s, I took and bought a couple of sleds, just so I could see what the draw is, and it is. I'm telling you, we got a beautiful state, and to go. I mean, I've lived here my whole life, and you're so busy in the summertime. Sometimes you don't get northern Maine as much as you like to, and so then. So I bought some sleds, and a friend of mine, bought some, and he. And we decided we were going to do every trail, in the state. And, it's gorgeous. Geez, we went up, we kind of focused on the northern part of the state and, went to different places, and never realized that there was so many waterfalls, and things. And,
the bridges that get built for snowmobiling are amazing.
It is.
And some of the lakes, but the waterfalls, as you mentioned, Elephant Mountain to the B-52 crash site.
Yep. Been there.
The ghost trains.
Been there.
Yeah, there's so many cool. There's some trestles that are old wooden railroad trestles that are just amazing. How did somebody build those sometimes?
Oh, yeah. And then, it's like, and then we were up in the Forks and they said, have you ever seen the falls? And I'm like, I don't know, the falls, reversing falls and stuff. And so then I went up there, and that was absolutely gorgeous. And then didn't realize there was a falls on Moxie Falls. And, and it was like you could snowmobile so far in, you had to walk the rest of the way. And that was gorgeous. And, and then, you go up to Fort Kent, and, snowmobile all around there. And, geez, we were going into, I think it was Frenchets and they in Frenchville, and geez, these guys. I'd sit at the bar in the morning, and eat breakfast, and these woodcutters would say, "Hey, you got to try over here and over here, and then we're cutting over here. You got to stop in and say hello, and just fantastic."
Cool. What other types of adventures have you? We talked about fishing. We talked a little bit about hunting. We talked, but business is definitely an adventure. Anything else pops to mind?
No, we've been doing a lot of dive travel. Diving and diving to different places and stuff. And
nice.
And that's always a treat.
Nice.
Because you like it here to scallop dive and look for all the wrecks and stuff. But sometimes in the wintertime you got to charge the batteries up, and 85-degree water is a little better than 40-degree water.
Absolutely. So one of the things we do, we share a quote, and I'd love to any thoughts you might have on it. But each episode we have a quote that we found that focuses on adventure, and this one is by George Eliot, famous author. But the quote is, "Adventure is not outside man; it is within."
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny that somebody said, "Can I do diving?" one time, and I said, "Do you want to do diving?" And And she said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, you got to want to do it." I said, is your husband or your boyfriend pushing you into it? And you got to want to do it. And if you don't want to do it, you're not going to get through it. And so she goes, "I want to do it." And she was fantastic. And I think that's what it is. It's like you either, you want to, you've got it inside of you. Like somebody will say, because, we climb Katahdin every year. Even though I got to start getting back into it because I'm getting too fat. But somebody said, "I don't understand why you want to do that." And it's like, oh man, once you get to the top and you look at the view and stuff, and it's like, and you feel like you've conquered the mountain, you get to the top and it's like, I did that, and it's like, and I'm going to do it. And, some people just don't want to do it, because they're just too afraid to do it. And I'm afraid of heights. And so, when I got up there, it wasn't that bad. It was like, if I can hang on to something, I'm no problem. And then we got over to the peak and took all of our pictures, and then we started our, descent down, and it's harder coming down than it is going up, but, so why do you want to do it? Why do you want to go scuba diving or watching Artemis the other day? It's like, why would you go to the moon knowing that you could die coming down? It's like, I'd do it in a heartbeat, wouldn't you? Because it's like, geez, to be that close to the moon. Yeah, absolutely.
What you just said is it ties right into, again, the focus for me for this episode is around, you don't need to compare to somebody else. You need to do something because you want to do it.
Yeah.
And that, nice. So the last question we ask everybody is, how does Greg Johnson define adventure today?
Oh, that's a good question. How do I define today? Meaning that
in this point of your life, for me, adventure was different when I was 20 versus now that I'm almost 60. So So what does adventure mean to you today?
Well, I did talk to another guy the other day, and he goes, "You feel too old?" And I said, "No, my mind is still 20 years old." And it's like my body says now, it's like I got to take more time getting my stuff on. I got to take more time getting into the boat, or, instead of, lifting up the snowmobile trailer, I got to use that jack handle and stuff. And so, so I think if you think you can do it, then go try it. Not putting other people into jeopardy, but, just taking your time and doing it. And, but never, because there was one guy that in Brunswick that used to go on our dive trips all the time, and he was 86 years old, and he would keep up with everybody. He would be the last one to go to bed, the first one to get up, but I watched him on the boat. He took his time, he got in the water, and he did fine. And he said, when I stop, it'll be when I'm dead. And he died, and he died a couple of years ago, and he was just a super nice guy, and that he just kept doing what he wanted to do.
Yeah. So one of our threads has been around people put artificial limits on things. I don't have enough money. My health isn't good enough. I'm too old. All these things. They're artificial limits. Now there is some reality to some of those.
Absolutely.
However, I can't do quite the same things I could do when I was 20, but. Those are oftentimes artificial, and what you just mentioned. I mean, we need to go out and do, if we want to explore or do something or explore something or go on some adventure. It's go do it.
Oh, absolutely. And you talk to you watch these people that jump out of an airplane that are 80, 85 years old, and it's like they're not stopping.
No,
they could have a heart attack jumping out of the plane. Because heart's probably getting a little weaker but they still do it.
Cool.
So go for it.
Cool. So if people are listening to this and they live in the area, or if they're traveling through Maine, how do they learn about Johnson's? And where can they come visit a Johnson Sporting Goods?
Well, we have one in Portland, one in Brunswick, and one in Rockland.
Okay.
And you can call. We're on the web too. We got a Facebook page and
JohnsonSportingGoods.com.
Yeah. Yep,
Okay.
Yep. And then or call. And it's like we don't mind answering questions.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, that's awesome. So with that, we're going to start wrapping up. We're also wrapping up season 1, where this is episode 9 of 12. We had a trailer, so it's 13 episodes for the season. Season 1's running from basically March through May, and we're going to take June off as Amy and I are off on our own adventure then. And when Season 2 will be back July through September.
Right.
And we've already got Season 2 pretty much booked for guests. And so with that, just remember, folks, to get out there and live your adventure. Thanks, Greg.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks for listening to the Live Your Adventure podcast. Remember to hit that subscribe button, follow us on social media at Hand Adventures, and for your next adventure, define it, pursue it, and live it.